Like, I know you're not going to allow yourself to get too excited over a 39-26 win over Texas Tech in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. But think about how pissed you'd be if they lost. So isn't it fair to allow yourself to be a little entertained, to appreciate a little bit that they're 7-6 and not 6-7? Certainly looks a lot better on paper and provides more momentum to the offseason. And we'll talk about that a little bit. What's going on in the transfer portal, how this future of this program looks, but also want to talk about the game, what I liked, what I didn't like. What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com, with a little walk and talk. The last one of the year. And I think the biggest difference for the game was Arkansas had their starting quarterback and Texas Tech did not. Taylor Green has done a great job against bad defenses all year. On the other side of the ball, the Arkansas defense has done a really good job against freshmen and true freshman quarterbacks. Those things, they've got to build on that. They've got to change that. Next year, you need Taylor to start doing some good things against good defenses. But that, to me, was the difference. Arkansas depleted on the offensive line, missing some key players, obviously, on offense, and having a mobile quarterback, you're able to make up for a lot of that. And I think that was the main difference in the game versus having, starting a freshman. The guy may be talented, may have a good future, but he's still a freshman. So to me, that was the big difference in the game. Things Taylor Green, to me, has to got. First of all, we got to mention this. The dude put up like 400 and something yards of total offense, 81 rushing yards. I'm not even sure how many, 300 something passing yards. There were 8 pass plays that accounted for 322 yards in this game. 8, including one that went 94 yards. So I think there were like 6 rushing plays that went for like 160 or something too. So a lot of big plays in this one, obviously. And what I didn't like about the game, let's just go into this. Some of the things I didn't like about the game. Arkansas is up 21-3, and I just see too much dancing, right? Too much celebrating, handstands and stuff. Like, guys, we've seen this before. Like, quit acting like the game is over in the first quarter. Act like you've been there, show a little poise and maturity, and go out and put your foot on their neck and finish them. And Arkansas didn't do that, didn't do a good job of trying to accomplish that. And, Texas Tech clawed back, showed a lot of grit and fought back. And I don't know, ever since, I think the safety, and that's, okay, I know I'm all over the place, but like some things that I'd like to see Taylor Green work at, obviously doing a better job against better defenses, not taking sacks when you're in field goal range. And I know it was an intentional grounding, everybody's coming at it, and that's a whole offense thing, but that is a thing that it's a reoccurring problem for Arkansas, making a short field goal a long field goal. And they made it, and it was fine and everything. But that's been a pretty consistent problem with Taylor, and something you'd like to see him improve at. But he's so close to being a good quarterback. He makes big plays. He also makes a lot of bad plays. But he's right there. It's just like if he can just tighten it up a little bit more, he can be a really, really good quarterback, especially when he has protection. Because he is so athletic, and there's not a lot of guys that can move like he can at his size. So if he can just have a really great offseason. They've done a good job in the transfer portal, getting some weapons around him, like Courtney Crutchfield, Omega Blake, Cam Shanks, some of the other guys at wide receiver. They've gotten 4 offensive linemen out of the transfer portal. I'd like to see them add another, because I don't want it to be like it was this year, where it's just like they went out and got 3 transfers out of the portal, and it's like, okay, you're starting. Because there wasn't really any other options. So you just kind of had to start them. And to me, like Arkansas's losses in the transfer portal on the offensive line, and I like Addison Nichols and Joshua Braun, fine, but they lost Patrick Kudus. That's the only guy that's like, maybe a little bit of a challenge to replace. That's just real talk, okay? They can replace the other guys. And I'm pretty confident they can do it pretty easily, and probably already have. So fix that on the offensive line. I think they've done that. I think they've gotten some weapons at wide receiver. Again, I'd like to see them get one more offensive lineman. They've got one tight end on board right now in Platt. I'd like to see them get maybe another tight end. Maybe a running back. The thing here with Braylon Russell, and I know Braylon Russell's been a guy that's frustrated a lot of people, obviously, because he entered the portal, left the portal, entered the portal, left the portal. And that's obviously going to frustrate a lot of Razorback fans, you know, and eventually to the point, like, if you don't want to be here, then go. But the bottom line is, you may not like it, but Braylon Russell has a lot of potential as a running back. There's not another running back on this roster who's a bell cow type of back, a guy that can carry the ball 20 plus times a game. That guy doesn't exist on this roster. What I'd like to see Braylon Russell do in the offseason is really, really take care of his body, hit the weight room, maybe trim up a little bit, move some things around a little bit, because he's got so much potential with his size and strength. Like, he didn't have any blocking. Like, Arkansas is trying to run the ball over and over again up the gut, where they're depleted on the offensive line, replacing a lot of players, but they're still trying to do it. And I know he only had 50 yards on, like, what he had, maybe 20 carries. But you just saw, like, some of those were really, really tough runs where he's just getting met and he's just powering through. Especially late, you know. And what you also notice is, like, guys get hurt trying to tackle him because he's such a load. He has the potential to be a really good back for him. I wouldn't mind seeing him maybe add another guy. We'll see how it plays out, but it's a good thing for Arkansas at the end of the day that he did return. Okay. I'd just like to see him focus on football, and you know what? If he comes out and produces at a high level, then he'll make a lot of money because he's produced. Some of the guys out there that I've seen who, you know, the figures that I've seen pop up for that guys are asking for in the transfer portal that hadn't done anything on the college level yet, like guys that had 10 catches and stuff. I mean, they're ridiculous. They're ridiculously high. I would rather see Arkansas go out and get guys that have produced and have had success. I think there's two types of guys out there in the portal. I think one is the guy that was maybe a really highly regarded recruit who's, you know, a freshman or a redshirt freshman, a younger guy who hadn't really had an opportunity to play, and you know he's got a lot of talent and potential. Okay, that's a guy that you go out and get. Shaq McCroy out of Oregon, the offensive lineman, is an example of that, 6'8", 350. And then there's guys out there that are really experienced, have a lot of playing time under their belts. Omega Blake, Kenny Walker out of, and you know that's something I like with getting the guy from OU, Walker, and the guy from Cincinnati, two senior cornerbacks, because there are guys out there too, like an Anthony Switzer. Who, you know, Anthony Switzer probably isn't going to the NFL, but he's a guy that's played a lot of football. Maybe he's a little undersized, but he knows football and he's been around the block a little bit. So to me, like, you can get guys out there like that can really help you, but you also got to get star power. Okay. So what else about this game? I thought I was a little disappointed. You're up 21-3. And just a little, I think I already talked about that, but you're just a little bit too much celebrating, too much dancing, a little loss of focus, I thought. I talked about Taylor Green and some of the things that he can improve on, but some of the things that he brings, his natural gifts. And man, if you can just take that, not even that far, just take it up a notch. Just take it up a notch, and you'll have something with Taylor Green. And anxious to see how things work. I've mentioned this many times. When Bobby Petrino was here, back in 2008, his first year here, Arkansas never scored more than 4 touchdowns in a single game. It's an offense that just takes a little bit of time to learn. It's a pro-style offense, and you don't see like many freshman quarterbacks come into an offense like this and just be able to go like they can when, you know, they run a spread offense. So I think year 2 of Petrino with him should greatly benefit them. And, you know, the other pieces are important and stuff, but really that quarterback, having a guy that's been in the system for 2 years is the most important thing. So I'm going to say this too, for Pittman. There are some things that Pittman does that drives me a little crazy. And everybody knows I like Pittman, but I also have a job to do, and I kind of got to call it like I see it on stuff, obviously. But this is, and I put this tweet out there, and one guy's response was great. He's like, "You're not upset about giving up 15 unanswered or 16 unanswered points?" And I was like, no, the thing that drives me a little crazy is the small things that you can control. And this isn't a big deal to most people, but to me it is. And it's like calling a timeout. There's 2:03 left in the half. 2 minutes and 3 seconds. We're coming up to the 2-minute timeout in 3 seconds. And you're going to get the ball back. And Texas Tech's they're not about to get a playoff, you know. Why call a timeout there? because you're going to try to go down the field and score, and you're going to want those 3 timeouts. I just don't understand why you call a timeout right before a timeout is going to happen in 3 seconds. Like stuff like that, small details. Those are the things that Pittman's got to get better at. I think he has gotten better at that in some regards, but I also mentioned like, what was the game? Was it UAB? I can't remember exactly, but Arkansas is going to punt the ball, and the other team's calling, they're trying to save as much time as possible, and Arkansas, instead of taking the clock all the way down and calling a timeout with 1 or 2 seconds left and then punting, they punt the ball as there's like 9 seconds left. Like, why not take it all the way down? Because that's a play. We're talking about 40-something seconds left on the clock, and then getting the ball at midfield. There's a play or 2 plays by not taking it all the way down. Little attention to detail, being obsessive about stuff like that, I think is an area where Sam Pittman could do a better job, because we can talk about all this stuff about bringing in talent, all the stuff with the portal, things that you're going to work on and this and that, retaining the staff. So far they've done a good job at that, because I think that continuity with the staff is important. But those little things, I'd like to see Pittman really try to improve in those areas as a head coach. I think there's the relationships and all that stuff. All those things are important. But like, if I'm just pointing something out, it's the in-game management at times that, just taking advantage of every single, even if it seems minute, taking advantage of all those things, because it really matters at the end of a half and at the end of games. Defense is fairly well intact. Like to see Anton Junkosh come back with the new ruling by the NCAA that junior college players, and retroactively applying that to guys get the full 4 years of eligibility. Junkosh could come back, and he had a good game. He had 2.5 TFLs today. Now, they didn't have either of their starting tackles, and I know we got to take all this stuff into account, but again, it's better to win than to lose, right? I thought Xavier Sori had a really good game. Stephen Dix also. So you've got those 2 linebackers. Bring Bradley Shaw on, maybe find somebody else in the portal. They've got a few spots left. There'll be more guys from Arkansas that hit the portal. They've got 1 defensive tackle in Oak, and I'd like to see them get another one. They're going to lose Kevy Rose. Obviously, they've lost Eric Gregory, who's going to turn his attention to the NFL draft. I'd love to see Eric Gregory make it. But they got Cam Ball back, Danny Saw-Ely. Ian Drafard's another guy I'd like to see really take care of his body, really focus on getting his conditioning, everything to the next level, because he's so huge. I just feel like he could take a little bit of weight off and be a really impactful player for them because of his natural size. So get a few players here and there. They've done some work with cornerback and gotten a safety. They've got guys coming back, obviously Miguel Mitchell, who had a nice interception in the game. So they've got some players coming back here and there. But you'd like to see them, somewhere, add a guy or 2 that's a next level NFL player or something, here and there, right? They've also got some young, like we saw a ton of Quincy Rhodes tonight. Quincy has a bright future. He was a 4-star, highly regarded recruit. Charlie Collins, we saw a good bit of him today. Another guy who was a 4-star. Charlie Collins, like number 65 ranked overall prospect in the country. So those are 2. Quincy, I guess, will be a junior next year, but 2 fairly young defensive ends that you'll have back next year. Kavion Henderson's another good-looking guy who's a younger, just a true freshman. So, I don't know. Looking to the future, you've got some work to do. I think we're all starting to kind of get used to this portaling stuff, because, you almost don't sweat it when you see him lose a guy. It wasn't just a few years ago where you're like, oh God, that guy has no loyalty. How could he do that? So-and-so's tampering, and now you're just like, okay, well, who can they get to replace him? Because there's plenty of options out there. What else from the game? A lot of big plays. Again, you can't take away a whole lot from this game, except for Arkansas did take it seriously with the guys that decided to stick around. They prepared well, and they won the game. They had some hiccups. It wasn't perfect, but overall, it looked like a team that took the game seriously. I did feel like there's a gap in talent overall, you know, and that's important to note too. Like, we can talk about the game plan and all this kind of stuff, but Arkansas, to me, from what it looked like out there, size and all that kind of stuff, it looked like Arkansas had better players. But I think, again, the big difference for Arkansas, you know, having a lot of the guys back on defense. You know, Texas Tech, let's not be crazy here. You know, not only did they not have their defensive coordinator because he was fired, this was a defense that was like, out of 134 teams, you know, they're like 125 in total defense and scoring defense. So it's not a very good defense on the other side of the ball. Plus, when you take into account Arkansas's got a guy like Taylor Green who can move and buy time, make up for some of the deficiencies they have because of his mobility. That obviously makes a big difference as well. Okay, that's a wrap on the football season. It's not the season that, you know, we wanted to see from Arkansas, or maybe that we even felt that they needed to have with Sam Pittman. But again, 7 wins is a lot better than 6, and it's a lot better than 5, which is what I thought they would probably end up at when the season started. So, but after everything, like seeing the team and the personnel that they had, I really felt like, after seeing them and everything, not just like a preseason prediction, really felt like this is a team that could have won 8 this year. Maybe even more, but could have won 8, I feel like. Just a few things here and there that they've got to fix. It's a tough schedule. It's a grind every year in the FCC, so don't tell me, like, have you looked at next year's schedule yet? Because it's always tough. Okay, everybody, we're going to wrap it up. Go to HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com for 50% off. Check out our friends at Ozarks Go, internet service, Northwest Arkansas. Think north of the tunnel. Local guys, you can go to ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG. If you use the promo code BIDDY1, you can get a free month. Great high quality internet service, several different tiers, local company, Northwest Arkansas, parts of Oklahoma also. Check out our friends at Ozarks Go. All right, everybody, that's it. Appreciate you joining me for the walk and talk. The last one, we'll do some more. We're not just going to stop doing them because football season's over. We'll pop up here and there. There'll be plenty of stuff to talk about. But a big recruiting weekend coming up, January 1 through 5, also for the transfer portal. So keep that in mind. There'll be a lot of activity for Arkansas. As Danny West pointed out, guys like Jaquin Jackson came in during that window. So there's still some fish out there. All right, everybody, this has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.